Hi there, this is Donna Kozik. I'm the founder of MyBigBusinessCard.com and creator and leader of the original Write a Book in Weekend program. And what I'm doing here is kind of a kitchen table conversation with some of the authors that I work with. There was a book many years ago that I read called Kitchen Table Wisdom. So I'm bringing a version of that to YouTube and elsewhere and talking about kitchen table conversations with authors. And I'm super pleased today to be talking to Moira Shepard. She and I have known each other now, I was going to say intimately. It is kind of intimately because we've been looking at, on her book, but really some good conversations. And Moira has really produced and written a wonderful book that's going to be released soon. So I asked her if she would have a kitchen table conversation, because we're kind of in my kitchen here, with me about it. So Moira, welcome. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here.
Like you and I, we were saying, off camera, can talk and talk and talk and talk. So you really have some great wisdom to share with people. I'm so pleased again that you've decided and allowed to share it here, allowed me to share it with my audience. And yeah, you'll see my cat Piper or my cat Felina walking in the background, guys. So there's that. So Moira, let's start with the title of your book.
The book is called Love Your Way to Success: 5 Keys to Confidence for Creative Women Entrepreneurs.
All right, good. Well, I love that title. First of all, it kind of is a list title with that 5 keys to success. You name your audience in that title about women entrepreneurs. So good, A+ already on that title.
That's all thanks to your good coaching, my dear.
Oh, well, thank you. So the what I'm going to talk a little bit about is kind of your writing process and how this book came about. So why don't you start off a little bit about why you wrote this book? Like, what was the big reason behind it?
It wanted to be written. This is a book that had a very powerful feeling, almost like a consciousness of its own, and it kept knocking at the back door of my mind, waiting to be written. And I'm sorry to observe that I ignored it. Initially, when I set out to write a book, it was going to be an expansion of a video training series that I had done about confidence, and I wrote so much more material that went into the video. I thought this could be a great book, a wonderful resource for women who are looking to get their gifts out there in the world, but don't quite have the confidence they need to be able to do it and the confidence they need to succeed. So it started off as 3 steps to inspired action. And as Donna and I were working on formulating a strong theme for the book, it looked like it was going to be a book about procrastination. And that's something I know quite a bit about, A+ procrastinator here. And I kept getting this feeling like this isn't it, this isn't it. At one point, while Donna was coaching me through, I think it was the introduction of the book, she pointed out, you don't mention procrastination in this introduction even once. It feels like it's a real effort to drag the conversation back to procrastination. I thought, yes, it is. This is a book that really needs to be about the core issues that keep women from having confidence in themselves. And because we're multidimensional beings, we operate on a physical level, mental level, emotional level, spiritual level, energetic level, and many more besides. And so that's why confidence is a thing that kind of comes and goes. You may be strong in one area, not so strong in another. And so this is a book that sets out to address the 5 of the major levels of confidence that help us to have faith in ourselves, to have faith in the value of our gifts, to have faith that if we feel called to do something, it's because someone is calling and it would be good to respond. And so that's what this book sets out to do. It's a very emotional book for me in terms of addressing the feelings women have deep within themselves. I worked with thousands of women over the years who have many issues relating to self-esteem, self-worth, and I've struggled with them myself. So I know what that's like. I can spot those issues in somebody quite easily because, hey, they were mine.
Right.
And so this is something that I feel very close to, because all the women I've worked with, well, first of all, I admire them all so much because they had the courage to reach out for help. And that takes so much strength. And I really honor and appreciate that in them. And they're all so brilliant and wonderful in their own way, but they just can't see it. Or if they see it, it's like far off in the distance, and they can't really connect with it. They may even intellectually believe that they have good self-esteem, but then something happens, it knocks them over, they have a really hard time getting back up again. And it hurts my heart to see that happening, to see someone so gifted, unable to summon the faith in herself, summon the faith in her calling, summon the faith that whatever happens, somehow she will be able to handle it. And so this is to help women summon the faith they need to bring their gifts to the world, because the world needs those gifts now more than ever. And this is my part in empowering women to stand up and speak out and shine the light that the world is waiting to see from them.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You are so right. You know, a couple of gems there that I wanted to really pull out and polish a little bit. And one of them is how many times the book that we end up with writing goes through a number of iterations before it actually happens. You started with one, and then it was procrastination. And then I think what happened is that you applied what Reverend Michael Beckwith of the Agape Church in Los Angeles talks about, of having a vision pull you instead of the pain pushing you. And I think for you, procrastination, writing about it was a little bit of like, this doesn't feel good to kind of write about this, but instead writing about sharing your gifts with the world and developing confidence and showing female entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs how to do that, that lit you up. And you're like, all right, found it. Does that sound right?
Yes, absolutely. And those other steps, those other ideas for the book got me to the idea that finally became the book. So all those steps were necessary. So I don't look upon it as wasted time. Goodness knows I've got tons of material now about procrastination. I could blog about it for weeks. So nothing is wasted, especially in writing. You know, if it's not going to be used someplace, it can certainly be used somewhere else.
I agree. Yeah, and that's part of the magic of writing too. It's like getting started in the process many times is what, this cat is super active today. Getting started in the process many times is what then brings magic to the process and magic to the ideas and helps you download them even easier. So very good. So we talked a little bit about, you know, how this book came about. I think, you know, the reason it came about is through the other iterations that you were doing that. How about like overcoming any kind of your own hesitation, procrastination, resistance to writing or writing this book in particular? Did you experience that, and how did you overcome it?
I did experience quite a bit of procrastination. I've been a writer all of my life. I was a journalist for 20 years. I've written about confidence and abundance and other matters of touching on the spiritual for a decade and a half at least. How could I not have a book? This was incredible to me. It's like I've got so much material. How does it happen that I do not have a book? I must have started 9 books and brought 3 of them near to completion, and then it just fell away. So I came to see that part of me was really fearing completion. Part of me was afraid to get out there. This might be a little woo-woo for your audience. I don't know, but...
bring on the woo. We're all about woo. Bring it on.
Okay, we're all about Wooville here. That's awesome. I feel sure that I've had many past lives where I was a speaker of truth, a healer of some kind, a sharer of wisdom, and I got punished for it. I got burned, I got beheaded, I got hung, I got stoned, I got exiled, I got starved, locked away in a cellar. And that's happened to women historically throughout the years. So it's not just past life stuff. It's in our DNA, seeing women step up, be powerful, speak out, share what they have to give with the world, and then get whacked upside the head at best. And at worst, they're executed and their family's fields are sown with salt. So nothing will ever grow there again. The entire family is shamed and they got to leave town. These are all terrific reasons never to finish a book. Let me just acknowledge that. Those are very real and understandable fears. And sadly, there are still countries in the world today. I feel fortunate to live where I do, where I can write what I want. And the worst thing that happens is that everybody ignores it, which is, it hurts, but not nearly as much as something more drastic that some women face in other parts of the world. So these are real fears, real concerns. And so what I did was use my own processes on myself. I dug down deep into the fears. I let the fears come up because they're stored in my body, they're stored in my energy field, and they've been suppressed all this time, and they've been driving my behavior of not finishing a book. And so I dug into the fears. I felt the fear. And that's the remarkable thing. When you fight your fears, when you resist them, when you bury them or suppress them, they get stronger and they start running your life at the unconscious level. I had experienced that a good deal in my life. But when you look at them, something funny happens. They start to dissolve. They just disappear right in front of your eyes, because all those fears are emotions waiting to be acknowledged. And once you acknowledge them, simply by saying, hello, sadness, I see you. Fear, I see you, something like that. They kind of relax and go, and they just kind of leave your field. It's really quite magical. And I've seen it happen time after time, and myself and in many other people who I've worked with. So I know this works. So this was one of the times where I really sat down with myself and said, I'm just going to face these fears and just allow myself to feel those emotions, feel the terror.
Yeah.
And then it just starts to pass through the body. Now, this may be kind of hardcore for some people, which is why there are people like me in the world to walk them through the process, because it can be frightening to face your fears by yourself. And sometimes you don't even see some of the largest emotional or mental blocks that you've got, because your ego mind is blocking them. It's got a lot invested in making sure that you never see those fears, that you never see those blocks. It does this because it loves you and wants you to be safe. So it's not like the ego is doing this to keep you crazy or anything like that. It's just its best idea of, this is how I protect you. I make sure that you do not see the things that are blocking you from doing stuff. It's going to make you feel confident. It's going to make you feel good about yourself, because then you're going to do something crazy and you might die. And what would be even worse, I would die, the ego mind. And we can't have that happening. Right. So when you've got someone who's kind of outside of you, but because we're looking at you with outside eyes, you're looking at your fears with inside eyes. It's easier to see them. It's easier to have compassion for them, to have compassion for you. It's important to know that fear is nothing to be ashamed of. Procrastination is nothing to be ashamed of. These are tendencies and behaviors that are based on real reasons, whether they're emotional, mental, something that happened from your family, something genetic that you picked up from your family. I've worked with a lot of people who come from a long line of folks, especially women, with low self-esteem. So that's a level of low self-esteem, of low self-worth, that it's almost impossible to talk yourself out of, because you've got a lot of genetic reinforcement for that belief. It's not just you in there. It's not just you in here. So someone who's able to be outside of that and have compassion for it, but kind of lead you through the process of, okay, this is what you're feeling. This is a safe place. Let's just observe these fears with love and compassion. Let's bless them. Let's acknowledge them. Let's thank them for doing their job, which was to keep you safe the best way they knew how, and let them go. Just let them go. And the more I did this, the more I was able to kind of get centered in the thing that really got me going with the book, which is a passion to share this information with a wider audience. A lot of women need to know the things that I'm sharing in this book, and a book is the best, easiest, most portable, most easily widespread way to disseminate ideas, healings, insights, realizations that the people who are waiting for this book are waiting to hear.
Yep. Yeah.
This is true of all of our gifts. So not everybody is going to want what you've got to offer, but the people who want what you offer are going to want it very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can make a huge impact even just by having a few people read your book, because they can be inspired to go and change their world and the world from that. So a couple of gems, again, that I wanted to underline from there. One is that the power sometimes that we give our fears and how we can make them larger than life. And then they start to eclipse our life. And if you're able to take that energy and kind of deflate them like a balloon, and say, oh, you know what? You're not the boss of me. And I'm going to make my own choices now, which I mean, I think that is something just to hold on to. And I find inspiring. It's like, I don't have to be controlled by my fears, and nobody does, which is great. And then also what you mentioned about like what the ability and the capabilities and the freedoms that we have here in book writing and book publishing, that we're able to share our voice and able to share our message, and that we get to do that. Sometimes I think that we get into the process of like, I have to do this, I should do this. But when you start thinking about it, reframing it as, here comes a cattail, as I get to do this, that's really empowering to me, because I then, it just juices me up. It revs me up. It's like, yes, I have this ability, where it's easier for me now. I can do it compared to centuries ago, or even other countries today. So that is fabulous. Moira, tell us a little bit about your writing process, or what I call your ceremony of creation. What does that look like when you sit down to put words on screen or words on paper?
I pray. I open up a new document, a new Word document, and I pray, Holy Spirit of life, speak through me. Give me the words that are mine to share today.
Wow.
Show me whatever needs to be said. Give me the words to say it. Give me the right energy with which to say it. Help me to connect with the heart, with the souls of those who are waiting for these words, and let what they need be provided.
Yeah.
This or something better. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I start writing, and sometimes there's a little throat clearing going on initially, and then I get into the groove of, okay, here we are. This is the thing. So I also tend to open up my mind by asking questions, because the brain is like a Google search engine that works at the speed of thought. So if I ask it questions, it will answer them. I remember the very first talk that I wrote was born because I asked, if I had to talk about, if I had to boil down 3 things that I did to heal myself, what would they be? And so immediately the outline comes to me. Memories start coming up. And this is what I did with the book too. I ask first for the structure, because I like a framework. I guess it's because I'm a journalist. I like a peg to hang my information on. And so I often start with an outline. This wasn't when I was writing, this was different from when I was writing fiction. Then I would just let the characters lead me and show me what the story was and how they responded to events. But with nonfiction, what I do is I ask for the outline first, because it's important to me to have an organizing principle of the book's theme in its entirety before I sit down to write, even though it will change, and it does, and it did. But it gives me a starting point. The main thing is really to open up to inspiration, to call for it, to know that it's coming, and then just sit down and start typing. One of the things that I came to realize as I was writing this book was that if I just set aside, am I worthy? Does anybody care? I don't know if I can do this. And just said, I've been writing about this matter and talking about this matter of confidence for women for 15 years. I know this stuff. It's in my bones. It's in my field of energy and consciousness. So I am just going to write what I know, what I've seen, what I've come to understand by working with amazing people. And I don't know if I'm worthy. Right now, it doesn't really matter. Let's just write what I do know. And that gave me confidence to say, okay, I'm not going to worry about how it's received. That's kind of getting ahead of myself. Let's just look at what is one thing I know today. What is one thing that would be valuable to share today? What have I just gotten on the other side of? And how can I help other people get to the other side of it too?
Absolutely. Oh, that is so great. And, that's interesting about how when you write fiction, the characters tell you what to do. But when you write nonfiction, you mentioned about creating a structure to have, and I call that being a leader to your readers. You are the guide, you are the navigator. So let me show you where I'm going to take you, or where I want to take this group of happy campers, right? Where do I want to lead them today? And that's what kind of creates what I call that power outline and that structure for your book. Another interesting thing you said is about basically, Lego my ego. Leave the ego at the door. What I tell my authors is like, don't worry, this isn't going to be posted on Amazon tomorrow. You'll have time to massage it, relax with it, get used to your message and expressing it. And then when you're ready, you can then go and publish it. And I think that we have to be told that in a way, because our
Yes.
minds think that as soon as it's on screen, it's out in the world. But it's not. That's part of the process of writing and of that magic that I talked about earlier as well. So a couple of really good points there. So let's just underline, Moira, the main message of your book. I know it's going to be released soon. And when it comes out, you mentioned that it's women entrepreneurs and it's about building confidence. But tell us a little bit more about your main message.
My main message is that for most of us, confidence tends to come and go like the tide. Some days it's in, sometimes it's out, sometimes you cannot even see it on the far side of the horizon. But when you're setting out to be an entrepreneur, you need to have a more consistent level of confidence, a degree of core confidence to really be able to move forward, knowing that you don't always know everything, things that are unexpected are going to happen, but knowing that whatever happens, somehow it will be handled. And it's very hard for most women to access this confidence, which actually lives inside of us. I believe our natural state of being is one of confidence. Part of us on some level knows that we are whole, complete, and perfect, exactly as we are. But we tend to lose sight of that because of events, because of the way other people treat us, because of the way we treat ourselves, any number of reasons. But there is that level of core confidence living inside of a woman right now. And this book is to help women to kind of peel back the issues, the layers, the blind spots, to help them see I'll use the word, their perfection. That they are wonderful exactly as they are. It's our judgments against ourselves, our judgments against what we consider our flaws or foibles that continue to undermine our confidence day after day. 15 things can go right and one thing goes wrong, and kaboom, there's your confidence going kablooey for the day, a week, whatever. And it's so unnecessary. This book teaches women how to treat themselves with love and compassion, how to treat what they call their mistakes with love and compassion and understanding, how to treat their emotions with compassion and understanding, how to handle their mind in a way where they are the boss of the mind rather than the mind doing all of the driving. Because we need to bring our hearts and our spirits into our work as creative women entrepreneurs. And so while the mind has its place, it's very important. I couldn't do without it. But letting it be the whole show can make it very challenging to be a successful, confident woman entrepreneur. And this book helps set the stage for women to have confidence on those 5 levels of physical, mental, emotional, the spirit, and of serving something greater than yourself.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I know personally, I guess I will say effort. I was going to oh, is it really effort? But it was the effort. It was the love. It was the attention. It was the energy that you gave into creating this book. And I saw it develop over the past several months. And also not only these messages that you shared, but also you have really intriguing story of your own that you open with in the book. And then also just your examples throughout too are really interesting and help bring those points home through story, which I really appreciate as well. So it's just fabulous. I can't wait for everybody to read this book. Two more questions. The first one, for people who feel that they're getting in their own way, whether it's a lack of confidence or maybe procrastination, or they're just not sure of their message or whatever it might be, in stopping them from putting words on screen or words on paper, what would you recommend?
I would recommend getting curious. Here's the thing. As I mentioned earlier with the ego mind, it puts up mental blocks and emotional barriers because it loves you and wants to protect you. So there's no harm going on here. Nothing bad is happening. So when someone notices in themselves that they've got the procrastination or the overwhelm, or they have trouble saying no, they overschedule themselves, they have time for everything but writing, I would suggest sitting down with yourself in a quiet place where you won't be interrupted for about 5 minutes, and just ask yourself, in a spirit of mild curiosity, why does keeping myself from writing this book seem like such a good idea? And just notice what comes up. And whatever it says, whatever it tells you, whatever thoughts or feelings or memories rise up, just observe them with love and compassion and say, yes, I can see how you would feel that way. Or I totally get that you're trying to protect me, and I really appreciate it. And this is the next piece. Once you acknowledge and appreciate these elements of your consciousness that are trying to protect and preserve you, is to say, does it make sense that I would be more safe and protected without these barriers than with them? Does it make sense that if I let these fears go, I would be stronger and wiser and better able to handle things? And even the most irrational, rational mind will see the rationality of that and saying, oh, I see. We're on the same page. We both want to protect. We both want to protect me. But maybe there's a better way to do it. Maybe there's another way that serves me better, that actually keeps me safer. Something that's more loving, more compassionate, more conducive to being productive and joyful and effective in the world. And you can even ask while you're there. You can ask, well, if there were a better way to keep myself safe and protected, it also lets me write my book, that lets me share my gifts. What would that be? What would that be? And just notice what comes up. Again, it's the Google search engine of your mind. It's going to bring you the answer from wherever it is. And you'll know it's the right answer if it makes you feel good, if it gives you joy, if it gives you a little laugh. That's a sign that this is genuine guidance that you can trust. If the answer that comes to you is something hurtful or unsupportive or something that makes you kind of close in on yourself again, that's not guidance. Somehow your ego mind has crashed the party. So you can just say, ego mind, thank you for sharing. Let's get back to the question. Right. What are ways that to keep me safe and protected that are also productive and joyful and making me more effective and happy in the world? And see what comes up. And when you get an answer that gives you joy, just follow that breadcrumb trail. See where it takes you. Just stay curious.
Oh, that's fabulous. I'm like ready to go write.
Yay!
So thank you so much for sharing that. Where can people find you, Moira?
They can find me at moirashepard.com. That's MoiraShepard.com. And
Right.
people will find resources, videos, and very soon my book, all kinds of cool stuff to help build confidence.
Fabulous. And I'll put a link to your site as well in the notes that come with this video. Thank you so much for sharing your information with us and your inspiration with us.
You are so welcome. I'm honored to be here with you. And thank you again, Donna, for all the incredible help, coaching, insight, encouragement, and inspiration that you have brought to me and so many others as we set out to share our gifts with the world. You've been a big part of that. Thank you.
Oh, it is my pleasure and it is my privilege to be able to do that. And thank you all for watching. Again, this is Donna Kozik, and I've been interviewing Moira Shepard, and we've been talking about kitchen table author wisdom here. If you want to find out more about Moira, you can go to moirashepard.com. And if you want your own free book planner, you can go to freebookplanner.com. I'm also on Facebook and all kinds of fun places. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day. And Moira and I will see you in the bookstore.